Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Friday night, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Good evening, Keveron. Glad to have you here, and go Tigers. Here on this Friday night, I want to do another early season preview for a college football team as we continue to count down the days to the beginning of the college football season. And I did one of these the other day. I did 4 so far. I think I've done, in no particular order, Tennessee, LSU, Florida State, and Clemson. So this will be my 5th one. But on the last one that I did earlier this week, last week, whenever it was, I mentioned in that video that I have yet to count down how many days it is till the season actually starts. Because normally I don't even start counting until late May, early June, because I know by Memorial Day weekend, generally you're within 100 days. And to me, if it's more than that, it's too far away, and you start getting so excited, and it makes the off season seem even longer. But today I was like, let me take one quick peek and count down the days, and we're at 113 days. So not many more than 100 days until we get to August 30th. So without further ado, let's do our 5th preview of the off season. This is a team that has a new coach, and you know the new boss, he's the same as the old boss because their new coach is their old coach because he's coached there before. Hey there, Damien. Glad to have you here. And that is the West Virginia Mountaineers, who of course are coached by Rich Rodriguez. Now, in the Big 12, just like in the Big 10, they play 9 conference games a year, whereas in the ACC and the SEC, you play 8. The Big 12 plays 9, and there's a couple of games on the Mountaineer schedule that I will give them a win in, just because I like their coach better than their opponent's coach. Because the Big 12, generally, most years, hey there, Mikey. Glad to have you here. And the Big 12, for the most part, generally, it might be a different team every year, but generally, every year, there's 1 or 2 really good teams, borderline great teams, and then there's 1 or 2 awful teams. But everybody in between is kind of evenly matched. So a lot of times in games like that, you pick a winner based on which coach you like better, because you know games like that generally are going to come down to the wire. So they're going to come down to a coaching decision. So which coach do you like? You pick that team. So there's a couple of games on the Mountaineer schedule that I think can go either way, but I'm giving them a win based on who their coach is. And as I mentioned the other day when I was talking about my Big 12 quarterbacks, we know their quarterback is, I say Marshall, but I've heard Marshall, I've heard Martial, I've heard Martial, so you can pronounce it how you want to. I'll say it's Marshall. He's the quarterback. Jaheim White is their main running back, but we know in Rodriguez's offense, there's going to be players that you never would even think would be a big part of their offense. That'll end up being a big part of their offense. They'll have some players on offense you don't expect but they'll have good seasons. They open up with their 3 non-conference games in a row to go ahead and get them out of the way. 3 easy wins, in my opinion. Robert Morris, Ohio, and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is one of the games that I'll give the Mountaineers to win just because of Rich Rodriguez. Now, had this been a couple of years ago, I would say Pittsburgh, but for whatever reason, Pittsburgh has kind of lost their identity. I'm not sure why, because they have the same head coach. They just haven't looked the same on either side of the ball the last couple of years. And until they get back to playing Pat Narduzzi, Pittsburgh football, I don't think they're going to have any more 9 or 10 win seasons. So I'll take the Mountaineers in that one. So their 3 non-conference games open the season. Robert Morris on August 30th, Ohio on September 6th, and Pittsburgh on September 13th. And then they start their 9 conference games. First conference game on September 20th against Kansas. September 27th, Utah. Then they open up the month of October on the 3rd against BYU. And I've got them losing all 3 of those games because I think BYU is just better than they are. And I think Utah is just better than they are. And I think Kansas, with Daniels at quarterback, they're going to score some points. And I just don't know if I'm ready to say the Mountaineers in game number 4 under Rich Rodriguez's return, they're going to score 40-plus points. And I don't think they beat Kansas by scoring 24. And after BYU, I've got them 3-3, winning all 3 of their non-conference games, and then losing their first 3 conference games to Kansas, Utah, and BYU. And then they've got their first bye week in week number 7. Coming back off the bye, game number 7, week number 8, playing the Central Florida Golden Knights on October the 18th. Then they play the Horned Frogs of TCU on October 25th. Then they open up the month of November against Houston on the 1st. Then they play Colorado on November the 8th. And then they play the Sun Devils of Arizona State on November the 15th. Hey, Diane, glad to have you here. And Diane, I've almost been out of school so long that I barely remember what it feels like. I can recall a lot of my high school days, but I don't hardly remember any of my elementary school days. I can picture myself getting up and going to school, but I don't remember any part about the actual school from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. Middle school, I recall some, but high school, I have a very, 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 very good memory as far as my high school days, but not much beyond that. Arizona State on November the 15th. Then they had their second bye week in week number 13. Then they wrap up the season on Thanksgiving weekend on the 29th against the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'll give them a win against Pittsburgh just because I like Rich Rodriguez and trust him more than Pat Narduzzi. Same way with Colorado. That should be a close game, but I'll trust the Mountaineers coach over Colorado's coach. And same way, last game of the season against Texas Tech, I'll trust the Mountaineers coach better than Texas Tech's coach. Those are the 3 swing games on the schedule that I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt based on who their head coach is. So I've got them going 8-4, winning all three non-conference games: Robert Morris, Ohio, Pittsburgh, and then in conference, in their 9 conference games, they're going to beat Central Florida, TCU, Houston, Colorado, and Texas Tech. And then they're going to lose to Kansas, Utah, BYU, and Arizona State. Now, as I always say, my overall record is what's most important. As long as they're 8-4, they're 8-4. Whether or not I got the right wins and right losses doesn't matter. It's the overall record. As I said, I think they lose to Kansas, Utah, and BYU and Arizona State because those teams are just better. But I've got them 3 swing wins against Pittsburgh, Colorado, and Texas Tech just because I like their coach better. So I'll say that the floor is 5-7. The ceiling is 9-3. I could see them possibly beating Kansas, but I don't think so. So I'll say if the floor's 5-7 and the ceiling's 9-3, I'll kind of sort of go in the middle and go 8-4. So I've got them 5-4 in the Big 12, 3-0 in their non-conference games, 8-4 overall, which wouldn't be a bad first season return for Rich Rodriguez in Morgantown. Now, Diane, I believe you and Mikey, this is the first time I've seen y'all's name in the comment section. If this is your first time being here, thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure that you give the video a like and a thumbs up and share the video on all social media platforms. So the Mountaineers go 5-4 in the Big 12, 8-4 overall. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What happened when 2 slices of bread went on a date? It was loaf at first sight. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.